Here we are today in the Rockwell Collins Museum. It's a privilege to be here, and while we're talking about the ART-13 maintenance, I thought it would be appropriate to start with the display of the equipment in the museum. This is a ART-13, the non-low frequency version, and here is a mock-up. Actually, it's a working auto-tune system with a built-in control head that Jules Yoder put together for the demonstration and training purposes on the auto-tune. Before we start today, I thought it would be interesting just to look. Here is one of the auto-tune mechanisms that's taken out of another transmitter, and you can see the positioning mechanism that sets up each channel, and the demonstration unit that Jules Yoder put together actually still works, and we're going to change channel here, and you'll see an ART-13 channeling system changing channels. First, it's going to home to a start position. And once it's home to the start position, then it will go back and reset itself to the desired channel. Now it's in channeling mode. And that's how you change channels on an ART-13. Later in the video, we'll be focusing on the maintenance of this unit. Let's get started. Before we start, I'd like to introduce Rod Bloxham. Rod's our host today. Rod's retired from Rockwell Collins for several years now. He was the curator of this museum before his retirement, and he was also the lead engineer on many of the HF-80 pieces of equipment. He was the project leader on many pieces of our HF-80 gear, as well as being a principal engineer with Rockwell Collins. I'd like to introduce Rod Bloxham at this time, and he's going to do some introduction work on Jules Yoder.
Okay, well, thank you, Bill, and it's a pleasure to participate in this project. It's something that I've been interested in for a long time, and that's preserving the history and the lore of Collins Radio and later Rockwell Collins. So this project with the ART-13 has a lot of facets, and we hope to cover a lot of that today with our other retired engineer, Jules Yoder. Jules, I'll let him talk a little bit about this himself, but Jules started out with the ART-13 at the tender age of 18, and is our resident expert in the restoration and operation of the ART-13s for numerous projects, which we'll go into a little bit later. So with that, let me turn the microphone over to Jules, and he can give you a little background of his first encounter with an ART-13 and how that led to his later career at Rockwell Collins. So Jules.
Thank you, Rod. Well, I'm Julius Yoder, commonly referred to as Jules. That's my nickname. A little bit of background. 1948, I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. Out of boot camp, Lackland Air Force Base, my first assignment was to a troop ship going to Europe. Didn't know what it was all about, but my first assignment was in Europe. Got off the ship, got onto a train. Bunch of both Army and Air Force people, and wound up at Rhine, Maine. It was called the Frankfurt, Germany. It's called the Rhine, Maine Air Force Base. They assigned me to base shops, and I don't know why exactly, but when I enlisted in the Air Force, I didn't go to tech school, but I was a radio amateur since 1947, had a ticket, so they figured I'd probably be a good candidate for on-the-job training. So in base shops, they knew that I was a ham, and they had all these ART-13 stacked up, each C-54 that flew the Berlin airlift had an ART-13. They were all military air transport type of airplanes from around the world. And so an ART-13 was one of the principal radios in each C-54. Well, it was an on-the-job training process, and of course I was over there for 3 years, and during the time that I did my tenure at base shops, probably repaired hundreds of these ART-13s. That's where I really learned it. Little did I know at that time that I knew that the ART-13 was a Collins unit, and I really respected Collins equipment, could never afford anything at that age. But little did I know that someday I'd be working for the same company that produced this unit. I was actually hired by Collins Radio in 1969 after completing my degree, night school, and had a very interesting career at Collins and then later Rockwell Collins. And unfortunately, several years ago, one of my colleagues found out that I actually repaired ART-13s, and oh my gosh, that was a big mistake on my part for even mentioning that I did this. So I've been actively involved in restoration, and and a lot of the little nuances and tidbits that I learned back 60 years ago were beginning to come back. So I really got interested. I even own my own ART-13, which I bought on eBay, and I haven't had the time yet, but one of these days, like Bill says, I'm going to get this on the air too. So in the meantime, I've restored several with the help of others. It's primarily a team effort too. It's not just me alone, you know. But Rod has been very helpful, and several other people, to restore several of the ART-13s, including those that are flying around in Fifi, the B-29. So that's my background.